You ever try to figure out what you're doing this for? You ever think, what are we doing all this for? Does that come into your thought process? I bet you think about it all the time. I know that I have thought about that over and over again in my life. And I really had to stop and think about it recently, because I've got older kids and they're trying to figure it out. And I know that it's different for boys as it is for girls, and it's just a whole different experience each person has. But we're all kind of going through really the same thing. What are we doing this all for? What is this all for? And a lot of it gets to be confusing because we think we're doing this so that we can retire. But then we know, and by this I mean working so hard, working to try to figure out how we're going to pay our bills. That's what I mean by this. So let's get into it. I was talking about this with, as I do often, Mom and I have conversations all the time, and then it kind of tells me what I need to talk about next. If you don't know me, my name is Melissa. I'm Coach Melissa. I'm a connection coach. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. I'm just going to talk to you for a few minutes about being in the rat race and what are we doing this for. Because you might not have to stress it so much, because I think we've got the wrong idea, a lot of us. And not that I have the right idea about everything, but let me just throw this at you. So we're supposed to, like when you're younger, you, when you're like 10 years old, you think about you're approached at school and by your parents and people, like, what are you going to do with your life? What are you going to be when you grow up? You're supposed to think about this. What are you going to be when you grow up? So you start to kind of, I remember when that was first presented to me, what are you going to be? And I thought I wanted to be a veterinarian. And then I came across a cat that was dying on the side of the road, and I was freaked out, and I knew I didn't want to be a veterinarian because I was freaked out by this. I didn't want to do anything to hurt this animal or I was just too emotional to deal with it. So I felt like, well, maybe I don't want to be a veterinarian. I don't know. Anyway, and of course, as I went down the road, my teacher said, you're not good enough at math to be a veterinarian. So they put a squash to to that thought. And, you just go through life not really knowing for a while, unless you've got somebody in your family that's good at something, and you might be good at that too. My dad's an artist. So my dad was an artist. He's passed. And so I thought maybe I'll be an artist, things like that. But you also realize that people that your family and your family's friends and people that you kind of look at in life, they're older, but they don't seem very happy. They're old and they're broken down and they're not enjoying their life, and they're stressed out, and they can't really enjoy the things that they've worked so hard to try to get to. So you think to yourself too, like, I don't know if that's the right thing to do either, if it's to be put 30 years in at one place. And who does that anymore? Not very many people that I know. So you go through kind of like in a state of confusion trying to figure it out. And what are we doing this for? What is the purpose? Well, we're taught here, especially here in America, that you're supposed to like provide for your kids, set them up for their future, perhaps put them through college, set them up so that they can succeed and all that. So you're here to raise kids and to put them through college, and for you to retire yourself. And that's basically the dream. And then, you pass away and leave some kind of legacy. And in the meantime, while you're doing all that, you've got, your friends and people that are in your life that are, you're looking at them, and they've got this nice house, and they've got this car, and they've got nice clothes, and they have this lifestyle that's really a facade. You don't know it's a facade at the time. And so now you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. You're going to get yourself a nice car, and you're going to have a nice house and get the clothes and all of the bills that go with it. And you start to have this kind of competition that you're not really aware that you're kind of in. And you're trying to compete with your siblings. What are they doing? What's their life like? oh, let me see if I can do better than them. Let me match up. Let me try to fit in. Let me make sense of my life and make sure that it looks like I've got it together. None of us have it together. None of us know what we're doing. We're all winging it. Just so you know. We are all winging it. Nobody's going to say that out loud. I'm going to tell you right now. All of us are winging it. We're all trying to figure it out. We're all different. We all got different circumstances. We all have not got it figured out. We're just going with the flow and trying to figure it out as we go. And some of us are looking at other people and going, okay, I'd like to be more like this and less like that. That's basically how it is. So, and it changes as you go. Times change as you go. Like what was once good for this generation is not great for this next generation. What was good for them is not necessarily good for you. But what is good for all of us and what most of us don't appreciate. We don't need to do all this stuff. We don't need to worry about what the neighbors are doing. We don't need to worry about what our friends are doing, what other people are doing. What you need to really think about, and what I am focusing on myself, is to be in the moment, to be right here, right now. Put your phone down when you're with somebody, be face to face with them, go outside, meet your neighbors, talk to people at the grocery store, be in the moment right now. Stop trying to worry about tomorrow. Oh my gosh, how am I going to pay that bill? Oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to put my son through college, my daughter. I'm not going to be able to pay for that wedding. Oh my God, they're going to have a baby. How are we going to afford? Stop stressing all that stuff. Stop stressing it. You're going to figure it out. You will figure it out. But be where you are. Enjoy the people you're with right now. Enjoy where you're at. Try to find a grateful moment. Be grateful for the things that you have, for the place that you're at, for the job. I used to work for a cookie company, Crumble Cookie. And I delivered cookies for them, and I love that. And I washed dishes while I was there. This was not that long ago. It was like a year ago. And some of the parts that I really enjoyed was just washing the dishes and being in the moment of just, they have these big kettles that they mix the dough in and make the cookie dough in, big giant mixers. And you have to wash that big mixer. And I remember just enjoying that process of doing the dishes and the accomplishment of having those done and delivering the cookies on time and the people's faces and just enjoying the moment, the drive, the atmosphere, just being in it. So many of us spend so much time worrying about tomorrow and regretting yesterday that we don't live in the now. We think about, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay that? How am I going to do that? Oh my God, how did I get here? How am I going to figure this out? What am I going to do? We stress and have anxiety about things that we don't even really need to worry about right now. We need to enjoy the moments, and they're all going to just go away. If you think about this, I'm gonna tell you this, and there's one other thing I'm going to tell you, and then we're going to jump off. This is not a long video. Think about this. Think about how many summers do you really think you have left? I'm 57, so I might live to, let's say, 80. I mean, that's not a lot of summers that you have left, right? Like if I live to 77, I've got 20 summers left. If you think about that, that kind of puts it in perspective. Like you don't really have a lot of summers to worry about all this stuff if you're 57. So I say this to you, don't stress about the future. I mean, if you're thinking about going to college, I will weigh it upon you to really consider being an entrepreneur and think about doing something that you really, really enjoy and giving to somebody, giving back to your community, get involved in your community. And what is it that you really want to make a mark on? My goal is to help people to get out of their house and get into their communities and talk to their neighbors and talk to the people at the grocery store and get away from their phones and get with their passion and get with what they enjoy. Get back in touch with themselves and their own work-life balance, and enjoy their kids, and start a gratitude journal and be grateful for the people that are around you. That I really want people to get away from their devices and back face-to-face contact. So I'm telling you this to suggest to you to enjoy where you are, not worry about being a part of the rat race and doing what you think you're supposed to do because other people have told you that's what you're supposed to do. Follow your heart, follow your gut, and write things down and be grateful. And you'll never know where you end up. You never know what is out there for you that you haven't really looked at. But just enjoy the moment. Enjoy the people you're with and the places you're at. I'm Melissa. I'm a connection coach. The reason I'm doing this, just so you have a little bit of background, is I have studied that there is a loneliness epidemic in our world today. We are so into our devices and into being isolated now. And I don't mean into it like we want to be. I mean, that's just where we are. Since COVID happened and we all went into our homes, and some of us lost our jobs, and some of us lost our way. Some of us haven't got back. Some of us are still terrified out there because COVID really put us into shock and traumatized a lot of us. And we're all still trying to figure out how to get back out there, and should we get back out there, and what's next. Because it did do something to all of us. I know, speaking for myself, it did something to me. And it made me look at things in a much deeper way, because I never expected anything like that to happen. So now I realize the value of today, the value of now, the value of the people that are around me, and how quickly it can all change. And so I've made it my mission to connect people, to help people make connections. That's what I'm here for. Whether that's a love connection, whether that's old friends, whether that's just getting out in society, whether that's being a part of your community, whether it's networking, getting back into the workforce, trying to figure out things like that. We're going to talk about those kind of things. Just stuff that affects us all and keeps us from being connected. I'm Coach Melissa, and I'll talk to you next time. Welcome to my mess.